Now, Corey Lewandowski is a very controversial figure. He's done a lot of terrible things. He's assaulted a right-wing reporter, by the way. Not a left-wing reporter, but a right-wing reporter during the campaign of President Trump. So it's not a surprise to hear him saying terrible things. Now, this, of course, this latest thing relates to the discussion on separating immigrant families. Now, during a CNN discussion, Lewandowski had made a very, very insensitive remark about a specific story of a 10-year-old girl being taken from their mother. Now, I'm going to show you that, and then we're going to give you more detail. We'll break it down.
Old girl with Down syndrome who was taken from her mother and put in a cage. I read about did you say Womp Womp to a 10-year-old with Down syndrome being taken from her mother?
Pick anything you want up, but the bottom line is very clear.
How dare you?
When you cross the border illegally.
Womp womp. Oh, well, look at that. That's his response. Oh, yeah, 10-year-old girl who had Down syndrome, separated from her families. Of course, that child right now is lost. Don't know where her family is. Don't know where her parents are because they got separated. And oftentimes, these families end up losing each other and not being able to find each other. Now, Corey Lewandowski says, womp womp. Oh, don't care. This is how they feel. And by the way, here's some more background information from CNN. The girl and her brother were sent to a detention center in McAllen, Texas, and their mother was sent to a facility about an hour away in Brownsville after the family attempted to cross the border. Now, the father is actually a legal resident of the United States. But again, this is how they feel. Oh, you separated from your family? Womp womp. Sad day for you. Look, even if you're against illegal immigration, you can't look at that and say, oh, no, that's a completely legitimate reaction. That seems to be, I guess it seems to indicate that you're missing a little bit of a core of your humanity. Oh, but Jeff, it's the law. They knew they would be separated. And that's another argument I run into a lot. And I always wonder when somebody says that, well, how do you know that? How do you know that they knew? Do you think they're like sitting at home and watching Donald Trump and listening to the news in America that they're like, you know what, now is the time to cross the border because we know we're going to get separated. No, you don't know that. You don't know that. And look, if they do know that coming into the country, if word got through the grapevine, then they probably ran a good cost-benefit analysis before trying to cross the border. For example, get separated by the authorities or die from gang violence. That's a tough choice. Real tough choice. But look, most of these people are refugees. Now, this 10-year-old girl in question, she was Mexican, but most of them actually are not Mexican. Most of them are from Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. These are places racked by gang violence, specifically from the drug cartels. Well, who has helped enable the drug cartels through our war on drugs? That would be the United States. Legalize it already. If we were to legalize marijuana, we could deal a crippling blow to the drug cartels, but of course we refuse to do that. But look, that policy matters a whole lot into creating the situations where these people are trying to run from, right? But see, her ethnicity for the girl doesn't really matter. What matters is empathy. We got to have empathy, and that's the thing. If they're running from a gang, if they're running from violence and death, thanks to our war on drugs, then I think we have some sort of responsibility to deal with that fallout. We don't just operate in a vacuum. For example, when we bomb somewhere, when we bomb someplace like Syria and we make it even more unsafe, then we should have a responsibility in taking care of the people displaced by those bombs. I guarantee if we were to start taking responsibility for the places that we bomb and taking in refugees, well then, we would probably stop bombing so many people. But anyway, now, later on, he walked that back, sort of. Now, he said, quote, When parents commit crimes by coming into this country, regardless of who their children are, they are separated because we are a nation of laws. Well, again, laws can be changed. Saying that it's the law, it's the law, it's the law, what can we do? It's actually not a law. It's not actually a policy that was here before the Trump administration. And I'll explain. He says that this is a policy that is implemented under the Obama administration, and Congress can change this. Turns out, Trump doing an executive order can also change this. Now, he says they have chosen not to do that. Oh, it's the Democrats' fault. It's Obama's fault. That's actually a lie. The Obama administration did not implement this policy. According to the former officials, the Obama administration did not have any kind of widespread practice of separating children from their parents at the border. Most likely, they would just send them home. They would deport them. Look, I've been critical of the Obama administration for deporting more immigrants or more undocumented immigrants than the Bush administration. That is a fact. But as far as separating families, it did happen, but it was actually incredibly rare. Authorities, when it did happen, were concerned that the children were being trafficked. So that's why there were separations, and that happened roughly every 6 months to a year. You would have 1 or 2 cases. The Trump administration has separated nearly 2,000 children from adults from April 19th to May 31st. So that is a lie. Corey Lewandowski, the administration, they're actually lying to everyone to try to deflect from their own racist policy. It is their policy. It is heinous. He continues. It doesn't matter to me if you come with 1 child or 10 children. Nobody wants to see their parents separated from their children. But the parents understand that by coming to this country illegally, they are committing a crime, and there are consequences just as there would be in any country in the world. So let's not make this about politicizing children. Let's make it about the rules and the law, and Congress has the ability to change that. Again, Congress has attempted to change that. There are Republican bills or Democratic bills. And now, of course, the problem with the GOP legislation, is that it's actually even more draconian than what we have now. Sure, it would end the process of separating families, but it would actually throw the entire family in jail. Great, wonderful fix you have there, Republicans. It would also limit legal immigration. So that is more draconian. That is actually worse. Now, there was a Democratic bill put forward by Dianne Feinstein that basically said, let's just stop separating families. Now, the GOP could have acted on that. Ted Cruz also put out a bill saying essentially the same thing. It was a good piece of legislation. Surprisingly, from Ted Cruz. But no, they weren't interested in that. Kirstjen Nielsen, DHS, she was working on a policy change to say we should stop separating children from their parents. Trump, he wouldn't even say that he would sign it, and now has come out saying, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to do an executive order. And guess what's going to happen? He's going to sign that executive order, and he's going to come out and he's going to say, finally, I stopped the Democrats and their plan and their policy of separating kids at the border. Those Democrats are terrible. I am fantastic. Who's politicizing the children? Look, here's the thing. The entire point of this, and this is Stephen Miller, right? Stephen Miller, inside the Trump administration, said, hey, you want the wall? Take the children hostage. Trust me, it'll work. Who's politicizing the children? Now, finally, back to Lewandowski. He said that, he was asked whether he was making fun of the child with Down syndrome. He said, quote, I don't know the young girl that Zach referenced. That's Zac Petkanas. That's the guy saying, how dare you, sir? Which I'd have been like, fuck off, Lewandowski. Go ahead and kick me off CNN. But I'm going to tell you to your face that you're a goddamn monster. But anyway, he said, I was mocking Zach, a liberal Democratic National Committee activist who was doing nothing but politicizing the issue by making an example of one particular child. Now he continues. He says, by the way, he's going to continue from that thought of, how dare you bring up one child to politicize the issue, then he's going to go and he's going to bring up a couple of other examples to politicize immigration. He says, if we're going to talk about children and illegal immigration, let's talk about Kate Steinle and Jamil Shaw, who were permanently separated from their families because they were killed by illegal immigrants. Let's talk about Brian Terry and his family, the border agent who was killed, a police officer killed on the border, and whose son was shot in the face in a stoop in California by an illegal immigrant, and Kate Steinle. How dare you bring up one example and try to politicize it? I'm going to go now bring up a bunch of my examples and politicize it. Fair is fair, I guess. Look, they have no empathy. And look, I just figured something out. You know, there's a saying over in the right, and you probably heard it. We've all heard it. Liberalism. It's a mental disorder. I actually finally know what they mean by that. To them, empathy for fellow human beings who don't look like you, that's what they consider the mental disorder. Liberals, with all their empathy, with all this feeling about, having feelings about other people and caring about other people who are even not American? You got a mental disorder, man. You are mental. How can you care about other people who don't look like you? They're not one of us. For all you know, they could be coming to kill you and your kids or take your job. You have a mental disorder, liberal. That's it, though. Having compassion and empathy for other human beings, people who are not Americans, that is mental. And look, it doesn't just extend to non-Americans. It also extends to African Americans, minorities. Anybody who's not white and Christian and conservative, like, we don't have any empathy for. Sorry. If you don't fall into any of those things, chances are they don't care if you live or die, or get trafficked or raped or beaten or don't, die from lack of health care. They don't care because they don't have empathy. That is what is lacking in the modern conservative movement. They say, no, conservatives, we have facts, not feelings. Well, one of the feelings that I don't have is empathy. And this is a perfect example of that in action. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.